Hi, everyone. You're welcome to another edition of My Farm and I. My name is Adibola Adidotun. I am your anchor for today's program. You're welcome once again. My Farm and I is a free webinar series where we'll be talking about uh, 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 problems in agriculture and how to offer solutions to this problem, whether it's a problem in Nigeria or Africa at large. So you're welcome once again. And this program is brought to you by Kitovu Technology Company. Kitovu Technology Company is a digital focused company that uses data to eliminate guesswork in agriculture, enabling farmers to make more money from their farms through increased yield and access to markets. So I will be briefly talking about the services and products that Kitovu renders to smallholder farmers. The first on the list is Yieldmax. So Yieldmax provide data, especially soil data information to smallholder farmer, which help them to minimize the usage of fertilizer and also agronomic advisories, which help farmers to maximize their yield. Another is the Storage X. StorageX is a platform that provides storage facilities for farmers, which help them to store their produce at panic period, where farmers are forced to, sell their produce in the market at a very ridiculous price. So StorageX provides storage facilities to farmers, which prevents them from selling ridiculously in the market, and their product serves as collateral for them to obtain loan that would help them cater for their immediate need. And after the price of the produce have risen, the farmer will be able to take advantage of that and make more profit from the transaction. So for more information, kindly reach out to us to our website, www.kitovu.com.ng, or any of our social media platform, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thank you. So we started this topic last time. We started the tips to increase crop shelf life through good agricultural post-harvest management. So this will be the concluding part of this topic. Last time we discussed about the elements of a good storage of produce, and we discussed how these elements affect the longevity of produce in storage. So this time around, we'll continue about general post-harvest management practices. So post-harvest management is very essential, as discussed in our earlier episode, to help to elongate the period of storage of produce, because it's now an agricultural practice that farmer must store to take advantage of price appreciation in the markets. So it's very essential. So let's dive into what we have for you this edition. Harvesting should be done at early morning or late evening hours. So this is very essential. So as discussed in our last edition, that there are elements responsible for storage. So once these elements are managed well, we'll be able to have a good storage period for our produce. So in this case, harvesting should be done at early period. The reason for that is so that we can have a good temperature of, in the produce. So when harvesting is done in the morning, it's also essential that when we are traveling with our produce, especially long distance journey, it's essential that we make that journey in the night, in the cool of the hour, so that it will not step up the temperature level of the produce. So another in the area of harvesting is that it should be done, harvesting should not be done during raining, maybe rain just finished falling and or irrigation, and you want to go ahead and harvest. It's very wrong you do your harvest at this period. You might do it if you are willing to, immediately go to the market and sell it off. But if you are willing to store for a while, it's essential that you try to minimize the moisture content in your produce. And you harvest your produce immediately after rainfall, this will increase the moisture level of your produce, and in doing that, it will reduce the shelf life of the produce. So another area to harvest in here is that when you are harvesting, you should try and harvest fruits, especially in crates, to avoid bruises. And once bruising sets in, definitely it will create entry point for other microorganisms to further affect the produce. So we talked about sorting and grading. Sorting and grading is also a very important aspect in the post-harvest management practices. Sorting is done by removing diseased, damaged, overripe, over-matured, and rotten produce to avoid spread of rottenness or disease. So sorting is very essential. When you are harvesting, you cannot have a perfect produce. There are some that will be defected, there are some that will be rotten, there are some that would be over matured, there are some that will be diseased. So it's essential that you separate these ones so that you can have a good perfect produce for sale, which will command good price, and others you will have to sell cheaper. So it's very essential that sorting and grading is done so as to attract a good value for our produce. So we'll talk about cleaning. Cleaning is done by washing and blowing of dirt from produce to improve appearances. So all these things are done to attract good market price for our produce. So drying here is also essential. So drying helps to bring down the moisture content in our produce so as to prevent the growth of fungi, molds to attack our produce. So drying is essential. So at this point, we'll be talking about moisture content. Moisture content for every crop is different. Or let me say moisture requirements for every crop is different. For vegetables or for fruits, it's quite different to grains. So grain can go below, let's say maize, it can be nothing above 12% is required to store grain, most especially maize, effectively. So once you are having anything above that, it will create problem, it will lead to loss even in the storage facility. So another management practice here is threshing. Threshing is a mechanical process of separating the seeds from the pods or shafts. When crop is harvested and dried, produce should not be wet again. So it's essential that once you have dried your products, you should not allow it to be wet again, because it can lead to other processing error. Take for instance rice. So once you've dried your rice and it got wet again, it could lead to breaking of the seeds while milling the produce. So we'll be talking about curing. Curing is another aspect of post-harvest management practice that helps to strengthen our produce and giving a protective layer to increase the shelf life. And curing is done by exposing the produce to a standard temperature. So below here are the crops that can be cured. We have potato, cassava can be cured. So even if you have injured tubers, maybe what I mean by injured is that you have punctures on your tuber crop. When exposed to required temperature, there will be a layer of a protective layer that would cover those injured parts to prevent further infestation. Yeah, so onions and tobacco leaves, those are crops that can be cured. So we'll talk about waxing. Waxing is basically for fruits. This helps to minimize water loss and reduce wetting to enhance storage life of produce. So waxing can be done by using paraffin to rub on the fruits so as to reduce the process of transpiration in such produce. Pre-cooling is also important. Pre-cooling gets rid of excessive heat or temperature from produce so as to slow down the process of transpiration and respiration to delay ripening. So it's very essential. So in harvesting any crop, it's very essential that after you've harvested, before you load into the vehicle, you have to maybe put your produce in a shade where cool air can rub off on the produce so that you can have your product at an ambient temperature. Another here is transportation. It's one of the good management practice. Transportation here means moving your produce, whether from the farm to the storage facility or from the storage facility to the market. So transportation here is very important, and I discussed earlier that it's essential when you're transporting your produce, depending on the produce. If it's fruits, it's essential that you transport it in the cool of the day so as not to cause increase in temperature for your produce. And when arranging produce in vehicle, it has to be well arranged to avoid bruises. And the act of storage is very also important in post-harvest management. Storage is the act of keeping quality of agricultural produce and preventing from deterioration for specific period of time beyond normal shelf life. That was a mistake. So for every produce, there's a shelf life attached to it. So a produce can, let's say, a tomato fruits can last, let's say the normal shelf life is 7 days. So with the use of post-harvest management and storage, it will help maybe to elongate it to, let's say, instead of 7 days, you can have, let's say, 2 weeks extra to make it almost like a month, so that it will give you enough space to store your produce so as to command good price. Processing is another aspect of post-harvest management. So let's take, for instance, when you are having glut in the market and there's no way to store. Another angle to it is you can decide to process it into something that will give more value to the produce. So processing helps to overcome the perishability of crops and improve market value. So for instance, gari can be converted to, cassava can be converted to Gary. So as to, for Gary, you can sell it easy, and the longevity of Gary cannot be compared to cassava. So in this, you are trying to create a possibility where you have more shelf life for processed products. So lastly, on post-harvest management practice is marketing. So the number one question farmer must ask and provide answers to is, where am I going to sell my products after harvest? So marketing here involves scouting for potential off-taker that would buy produce immediately after harvest or whenever the farmer chooses to sell. This gives some level of assurance to farmer and prevent losses that could come from stalled harvest time. So it's essential, even before any farmer engages in farming activity, to first sit down and ask himself, okay, this crop that I want to plant, do I have market for it? If I don't, let me start looking for market for this crop, even before the farmer set out to plant this crop. So when you adopt all these post-harvest management practices, it will help in giving our produce longer shelf life. Thank you for listening.